10 years ago, I started on the path to game store ownership. The first store was a modest shack, a hole-in-the-wall game club. There were no investors, no real plan, just pivoting to the next thing. Fast forward, and now I operate 3 different game stores called Kingslayer Games. I have a team of 30 staff members, thousands of customers, a monthly payroll pushing $100,000, and revenues of over $500,000. I'm usually excessively and exceedingly optimistic about the game store ownership business. Hell, we just had the best 2 weeks in the history of the industry. Game stores across the country and across North America and the world have done really, really well. But some things never change. This video is about the 10 things that still suck about local game store ownership. It is meant to be educational, maybe hopefully slightly entertaining for our community or for anyone planning on going down this road. A little bit of a disclaimer. I love hard work. I love the pain and the suffering part of this journey because hard work and sacrifice is what hide the greatest rewards. The climb to the mountaintop is painful, it is long, but there is always progress. But this is the pain that does not go away with success. This is the list of things that used to suck, still suck, and I predict will suck long into the future. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy observing the pain of your local game store owners across the world. Let's jump right into it, shall we? Number 1, alarm notifications. I can remember vividly every time that there was a burglary notification. There's been times where I've slept through burglary alarms and you wake up in the morning and the first thing you see on your phone is, oh, the store got broken into last night. That can still happen. It will happen again. I've owned stores for 10 years. I'm going to own them for another 10 years. And it's going to happen again. Unfortunately, it's just the way of the world. So every night when I go to bed and every morning when I wake up, there is a percentage chance that when I look at my phone, that's going to be the news I start my day with. And that thought never leaves your mind. Every morning when I look at my phone, it's, and you got to just hope and pray. They're the worst. They're the absolute worst. Sometimes it's glass break, sometimes it's burglary, and you're just kind of unhinged and waiting for that to happen. That sucks. That's one of the worst things. It could have been number 10. Number 2. This is probably number 1, if I had to rank them. They're not ranked in any order. Number 2, 1-star review notifications. The 1-star reviews themselves, I think sometimes there's some validity there, a bad experience. It's kind of nice to know if someone had a bad experience. You hope, you pray that they send you a message or a DM or call the store and explain it to you, and then you have a chance to save it before it goes to the dreaded Yelp review or Google review. But the 1-star review email or like notifications on your phone, they are unavoidably derailing to whatever it is you're doing that moment in that day, because everything stops and you have to focus on, you could be in the middle of something really, really important, really urgent. Everything stops and you have to lock in and focus on this tragic event of the 1-star review. This gets easier with time because as your store exists for a longer period of time, you have like a little bit of a buffer. You might have like a few hundred reviews. If you get a bad one, you're like, what are you going to do? You can't please everyone. But they still suck because at some point somewhere, either a staff member failed or I failed, or they're just frustrated about something that is like, maybe just some ignorance is involved. But either way, it's like a triggering event, and it's really hard to not get triggered. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? Number 3. This one sucks. Borrowing money. You got to do it at some point. If you don't have to borrow money when you're opening a game store, it's probably because you have a lot of money. And if you have a lot of money, why would you open a game store? I don't quite get it. It's usually got to be, I think it works best for folks that have something to lose that want to get into this hobby, or they really, really, really want to crush it and earn revenue, make some generational wealth, or have a store for the long run. And if you've got it, if you're like independently wealthy, what are we doing? What are we doing here? But borrowing money sucks. And when you're a new business, for those that are thinking about getting into this, and you don't have maybe good personal credit, or maybe you do have good personal credit, it's really expensive as a business, whether you're a sole proprietorship or an LLC, to get a good interest rate. And so you're usually paying, hopefully not, but sometimes you could be paying double-digit interest rates, using credit cards to finance. And there's moments in time through the course of your business where you're going to have to learn to borrow money, and you're going to have to borrow a lot of money, maybe often, especially for expansion or growth. It just sucks. And I can't wait for the day when I'm not paying off loans or debt or what have you. And maybe one day that will come. Borrowing money sucks. And you're going to have to do that in this business, sadly. Number 4. This one really sucks. This one might take the cake. Firing. Firing sucks. I saw a lot of folks talk about this when I was starting my career, about like, oh, firing doesn't get easier. It's still the same amount of pain. And I was optimistic that, I'll get better at it, and it'll get easier over time, and I'll feel better. It still sucks. Like that, going to bed that night, waking up the next day afterwards, it's affecting someone's livelihood or how they're going to pay for rent. Even though it's generally because they may have not met you halfway or done things correctly, even though, despite all that, it is unfortunate. It is unfortunate. And, I've heard, when terminating people, I've heard one of the classic lines I heard was, and this was someone that was in their first couple months, was, you didn't just ruin one life today, you ruined 2. So I was called a ruiner, and never great. And so you're gonna have to do that a lot if you're gonna open a game store. You're gonna have to fire people a lot over the course of your history. If you're gonna run the game store for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, you're gonna have to fire 50 people, and that never gets easy. Buckle up. Number 5, logistics issues. Now, especially as you grow and have multiple locations, moving product around is kind of the business of game stores. You're ordering product from distributors, packages. We've had packages with like the best Pokemon booster boxes in them from various sets get stolen from logistics companies, unnamed big logistics companies, where package handlers just go, sweet, like score for me. And then an empty box shows up and you're like, oh, cool. Yeah, those like 54 Surging Sparks booster boxes are just like gone. And then you have to, just a mess. Also, logistics issues when you're shipping to customers and they claim they didn't get it or it was lost along the way. That's going to suck. That's going to suck big time. This one might also take the cake. Mail from the IRS sucks. And that's going to happen multiple times a year, especially if you have multiple stores, where a piece of mail shows up. Maybe it doesn't get to you as promptly as you want it to, because when you're in a multi-location business, certain staff members may not recognize the integral, critical nature and urgency of mail from the IRS. And this may or may not have happened recently, where a piece of IRS mail was a little bit later to be brought to my attention than it should have been. So yeah, mail from the IRS, and it's usually never good. It's usually never like, we got you, man. The federal government is here for you to help you out. It's not usually the case. It really sucks. Mail from the IRS really sucks. All right, number 7. Work-life balance. Ha! What balance? What balance, I say. This one can get better over time. This one is difficult in the first 5 years, not as difficult in the next 5. If you're thinking, oh, maybe the first few months might be rough, like, no, it's going to be forever. But depending on, owning your own business and having a team of 30 employees or a team of 3 employees and customers to serve and business hours, that unless you just want to be the store that's open 3 hours a day, 4 days a week, is taxing on you emotionally and physically. But finding that balance is tough. It sucks. finding the work-life balance is very, very difficult. But that one does get better over time, depending on your ambitions. Number 8, maybe one of the things I hate most about this industry, or I should say, maybe one of the things that sucks most about this industry is product requests and allocations. I put those two together because the way this industry works is you have to put in pre-order numbers for games and for sets before almost any information is spoiled about them. We'll get information about a Magic set or a Pokemon set or Flesh and Blood and really not have much information. And the deadline to submit how much product we want is, with One Piece, for example, with Bandai games, can be like 9 months before the set is even, like, there's no information about the set. So you have to put in these hundreds of boxes that you want way, way, way ahead of time. Right now, the industry is so hot and there's such a fever pitch for trading card games that it doesn't matter quite as much because so much of the industry is just allocated right now. But for the last 8 years, before the last 18 months, you would generally get what you requested and get what you ordered. That leads me to allocations. You might order 300 boxes of a set, and if you don't have spend built up and you haven't been doing X, Y, and Z and hosting events, you could ask for 300 boxes and get 2. It just depends on a lot of other factors. So really the pain here that sucks and will always suck is that you have to put in pre-order numbers for products before there's almost any information out about them. And there's so many new card games and board games and things coming out all the time that you're always trying to hit a moving target, and you always either order too much or not enough. It's rare that you're like, man, I nailed it. Number 9, stress management. This is something that you will ignore, especially this in work-life balance. You will ignore it for the greater good of the business's survival until there's a point where you can no longer ignore it anymore, or you choose it's not worth ignoring. And for me, my stress management, and for those that know me, maybe on a more personal level or have watched some videos where I've spoken about this, for me, stress management was drinking alcohol, and that was something I did in the evening after the kids went to bed. I would have some beers or some whiskey or tequila or anything, and play some video games, talk to some friends online. And that was my way of rewarding myself. Or if I had a tough day, I could drink to manage that stress. If I had a great day, I could drink to celebrate that win. And it's a very effective way of disassociating. It's incredibly unhealthy and habit forming, not recommended. A couple years ago, I quit drinking, and so managing stress turns to other healthier things, ideally. And so that's something that it's very likely that you're going to sacrifice work-life balance and stress management getting into this. And then as things start to unravel around you, you'll realize, I really should take a better stab at this. And stress management is still incredibly difficult because it means I have to do the harder things like run or eat vegetables or do push-ups. Those things have great rewards for longevity and all that kind of stuff, and happiness, and like a really healthy way of engaging in this humanity thing that we all are doing. But something to keep in mind. And number 10, the final one, some games will bomb. They absolutely will evaporate from market demand in a blink of an eye at times. Something like MetaZoo or something like Altered. There's games that are doing really, really well, and all of a sudden you turn around and you're in for hundreds of booster boxes of a game that you've already committed to purchasing, and market demand has vanished, and you're just sitting there holding the bag. And because you've made these commitments to your distributors to purchase those products, you better make good on that. You better do what you say you're going to do. And that's something I've always been able to promise our distributor, that, hey, even if we have to eat this, we'll eat it. Sometimes I'll ask, hey, I ordered 300 of this. I have no market demand. Is there any way I could walk away from some of my what I've requested? And without it shining a negative light on our account relationship. Sometimes the distributor would say, sure, like that's what we can. I totally get it. No one wants this stuff. Can you take half of it? Or sometimes it happens, but we try to take everything we ask for, and if we have to clearance it or whatever, that's on us. So that's part of the business model, part of the product requests and allocations point in number 8. But some games and some sets will absolutely bomb. Obviously not Pokemon. Magic's doing pretty well, but sometimes that is not the case. So that is it. Those are my 10 things that suck. Still suck and probably will continue to suck about the game store ownership experience. I still very much love my job. A lot of these things you kind of get better at managing, even though they still might not be that much fun to do. And if you're a community member at Kingslayer, which one of these might have surprised you the most? Thanks for watching. Appreciate everyone in our community and everyone that watches these videos. It's super, super fun to create content in a space where I feel like it's pretty underserved. And if this is helpful in any way, shape, or form, let me know. Really appreciate your time. Have a great one. We'll see you next week.